We're going to get straight into talking all about baby CPR and then obviously how to handle choking, not the how to choke. So today I'm going to cover both baby and child when it comes to the first aid techniques. When you sat down, I gave you a little bag with all the information about today, a couple of extra goodies as well. Alison is also behind me, my lovely assistant with all her children. I'd love to hand around the babies. If you would like to practice what I'm talking about, then you're more than welcome to, so we'll pass them around. Please practice on my babies, not your babies. Very important, even though your baby looks exactly like my baby. So make sure we practice on the mannequins. This is a skill that I hope you never, ever, ever have to use. It's just very nice to know. Sadly, children can stop breathing, most commonly from drowning or choking, asthma, anaphylaxis, or many other reasons as well. Today's approach, first aid changes every time you might have done a first aid course. Unfortunately, every year they update you because they like to keep changing all the information. Today's approach, and when we talk about baby and child first aid, it doesn't matter if it changes, as long as you do the basics, it's the most important thing that you'll ever do. Most of you, if an accident ever happens at home, you are by yourself, you are yelling, you are screaming, you are crying, but you still have to do something until help turns up. And on average, you might expect it to take 10 minutes or 12 minutes before an ambulance turns up. So by just knowing some very basic things for that 10 minutes, it's the best thing that you can do. When I say baby today, I simply mean 0 to 1 year olds. So when we talk about babies and first aid, it's just the first 12 months. And then as your beautiful babies become children, that's from the age of 1 up until 8. And then when your kids are 8, 9 and 10, you'd actually treat them exactly like yourselves. So the older they get, the harder you push, the more you breathe, and that's the only difference at the same time. Let us start with my baby. If a baby ever requires CPR, which simply means they're not breathing, so you just breathe for them, you might have done a course where you learn all about the adults, and look, an adult is just somebody bigger, somebody you push harder on, you breathe more into as well. With kids, it's a little bit different. I know, and when you run into the room, you can probably tell from across your bedroom, does your baby require CPR or not? Babies have lungs about this big, so when they stop breathing, you often will see the color blue very quickly. Blue just means not breathing. I breathe for my baby, and that's all you ever have to stress about as well. The other thing you might do for a baby, if I walked into my bedroom, I wouldn't leave the baby where I found them. You've all got kids, or you're about to, you always pick your baby up. Happy babies, sad babies, you always pick them up. And I'd want you to pick them up because doing baby CPR on the floor is one of the hardest things you could do. I'd much prefer you pick them up, hold them as best you can, and then walk yourself to your kitchen table, your kitchen bench. It's high, it's a hard surface, it's near a door, it might be near a phone, and you have to do everything by yourself. So you should be doing CPR, then calling the ambulance and getting people there as quickly as possible. By also holding your baby like this, they're not going to fall too much, which is good. If you wanted to, I'd say walk next door to your neighbour's house and get them to call the ambulance if you had to. Or I had a lady once who actually walked outside, stopped a car, got them to call the ambulance while she did CPR on her child. Please never ever jump in your car and drive to hospital. The ambulance is coming to you, but you're doing CPR as quickly as possible at the same time. When you pick up your baby, you will notice straight away that something's not right. They're not waking up. Their face might be blue. My baby, you will see blue from across the room. They're naturally lighter in skin colour, but if you've got a baby who is darker in skin colour, you might not see blue on the outside, but if you open up their mouth, you will see blue inside. And if it's blue, they're not breathing, so instantly you breathe for them as well. Quickly, I look inside my baby's mouth and I look for anything that could cause them to stop breathing. So look for food, look for water, and clean it out as best as you can. This is your baby. Your mouth is huge. It covers both their mouth and nose, and you just go for it straight away. Old man outside you've never met before, you might not want to put your mouth onto his mouth straight away. If he's sexy, then possibly, okay, not sexy, maybe not. There are a few changes to CPR. In the event you do not want to do the breathing, you actually don't have to anymore. You can just sit there and do the compressions on somebody's chest non-stop until the ambulance turns up, which is still just as effective as breathing into their mouth as well. These are your babies. You do not care. You will share the love no matter what, so your mouth will go over their mouth. And like I said before, their lungs are only quite tiny, so when you do the breathing, it's just enough for it to go up and down, and that's all you panic about, okay? So over their mouth, 2 little puffs, make it go up and down, and then just check. Sometimes babies just need a reminder that they need to breathe. Smaller babies might forget to breathe in the first few weeks, so by puffing into their mouth, they will wake up quite quickly and respond to it. Some babies, they fall over, they want to cry, but they forget to do the breathing out, and they sit there going, And their face can turn blue a little bit, puff of air in the mouth, they remember to breathe as well. And then some children that you might look after, they deliberately hold their breath, they fall unconscious on the floor because they didn't get Maccas or they didn't get the shoes that they wanted, and they're doing it deliberately to get your attention. Give them a few puffs in their mouth as well, will not harm them, hopefully it wakes them up, and please never give them the Maccas either, okay? But that's up to you as well. So 2 puffs will never harm them. Once your baby though has had those 2 breaths of air, if they wake up, you stop, but if they do not respond, you simply have to start pushing on their chest. There are many different ways that people may have taught you how to find the center of your chest. All you have to do is push on the middle of the sternum, sorry. Your children have got clothes on. I'm not wasting time taking off jumpsuits. Everybody in this room, you've all got armpits, so you line up the armpits. They always meet in the center, and that's where I push on every single person. So on my baby, on my child, on me, it's straight across the middle, and that's where I push at the same time. I'm still holding my baby as I get them to the kitchen table, so I've lined up the center. Babies aren't as wide. You only need 2 fingers when you push into a baby's chest. But as we get bigger, we might go a hand, we might go 2 hands. Old man out the front, he's 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 people. Okay, the bigger you are, the harder you push, but generally it's 2 hands. For my little bubba though, 2 fingers, that's the center, and you push. Consistently, quite quick. And does anyone know how many? 30, well done. But that was 15, and that was 5 before that. And unfortunately, it does keep changing. Or I would say you sit here and you count 30 times, you stop and you do 2 puffs of air, you keep pushing 30 more times, 2 puffs of air, and when do you stop? When they wake up or the ambulance comes over and they start to take over. And never hold your baby like this. So it's just going to be sitting here, 30 compressions, 2 puffs, and that's all you do. I would love you to sit there and get into your routine of 30 pushes, 2 puffs, but in real life, you are on the phone talking to the ambulance, you're yelling at your other kids, you yourself are probably a little bit upset, so nobody should ever care if you do 29 or you do 35 compressions. They shouldn't sit there and go, love, you missed one. All right, you sit there, you get into your routine, and you just push, you breathe as best as you possibly can. As long as you are doing this, it's the best thing to preserve your baby for as long as it takes until further help turns up at the same time. If you have my children, go for it as best you like to as well. Hold them as firmly as you can. When I said to you, got to your kitchen table, it's much easier on a hard surface or any surface in the house, and you sit there and you push, you breathe, you push, and you breathe. When your baby responds, what do you do with your baby? If they woke up before the ambulance turned up, do you hold them like this? No, you don't choke them. You sit there, you hold them, you make sure they're still breathing, and yes, you still go to the hospital. The ambulance still picks you up, you still go get some help, but of course you stop doing the CPR. If they have still been unresponsive, you doing CPR is still the best thing that you could possibly do, non-stop for 15 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour until help arrives to take over for you as best as they can. This is something that is nice to know. It will keep changing, but end of the day, they're not breathing. You breathe, you push, you breathe, you push. It's the most important thing that you'll ever do. And then hope that you never do as a rule anyway. Any questions on my babies? We look good? Again, it's so funny, they're wearing the same suit. We're good. Have a practice. There's another one to practice with. And what I might do now is just step it up to my child, because as they get older, it's a little different. It's not too different at the same time. Now, if they're choking, I'm going to show you quickly a few choking techniques to remove the food. But if they have blue and they have stopped breathing, no matter what, you'll still do the pushing and the breathing, because obviously nothing else helped them, and it's better than nothing at all. So I'll still do it as best as I can. When they're a little bit older, from 1 and above, if they're smaller, they might go onto a table. If they're larger, they stay on the floor. The only differences are you have to push a little bit harder, you have to breathe a little bit harder as well. And as we get older, right now your little babies have very, very heavy heads, they've got very small necks, and we never like to drop the head back at all. So we keep the head supported nice and neutral. But as we get older, we all breathe a lot better with our heads going backwards. So for my child, I'd run into the room, I'd probably notice that their lips were blue or their face was a little bit blue as well. They're not waking up. Check to see why aren't they breathing. So look for food, look for liquid. If there is any food, we clean it over like so. And then very big difference, I will try and pull my little guy's head back, because that means more air will actually go through. Your mouth isn't as big either now, so you might find your mouth doesn't fit over their mouth and nose. So I might pinch the nose instead, open up the mouth. I still give him 2 puffs of air. This is my child, I don't mind whatsoever. See whether or not he wakes up, and if my baby doesn't respond, there is the center of his chest, exactly like my baby. It's not 2 fingers though. What do you use for my child? Yeah, it's a hand. It's 2 hands based on how strong you are, how large this child is. It's whatever it takes. And I sit here and I push nice and firmly on the center. Again, the rules say 30 pushes, 2 breaths, but as long as you are pushing, it's the best thing that you can do. And does anyone know how far down you have to push? Oh, hopefully Alison knows. Yeah. Yeah, well, the position's right in the centre of the sternum, but do you push so you touch the table? Is that the rule? It's often what they call a third. So as long as it's 1/3 the depth or the width of that person, that's all you have to do. Most of you will be too scared to hurt your baby, so you'll never push hard enough. But by not pushing hard enough, you're doing nothing for them either. So you have to be nice and firm. It's 1/3, which is just above halfway, and that's the best thing that you can do. Please remember, your baby or child is not breathing. It does not get any worse than that. So by you pushing on their chest, it can only hopefully help them, not hurt them whatsoever. So you push as best as you can. You only stop when my little guy wakes up or the ambulance turns up to look after them at the same time. And what's the phone number to call the ambulance? Thank God, you know, it's 000. Can I dial my 911? If you do, just do it on your mobile phones, unfortunately. And the other number besides 000 is what? Anyone know that one? It's 112. Given you've all got your mobile phones right here, dial 112 instead with no SIM card, no reception, keypad can be locked, no credit on your phone. And also outside of Australia, it's a great phone number for when you go on holidays. 112 will connect you through to that country's emergency services as well. 112 only works on mobiles though. It doesn't work on your landline, but 000 works on every single phone we have here in Australia as well. By calling them, they talk you through this process anyway. So by making that phone call, they talk you through it, but you just know you push, you breathe, as best as you possibly can. Any questions on my child? And if it's the older man out the front, you just push a lot harder and you choose to breathe if you want to, but it's the same position, same compressions, non-stop as best you can as well. All right, what I might do is quickly, my last bit of time, is grab a baby. I might have to, look how nice you are with him. Is he good? It's a very easy baby. I'm sure your baby would just be just as easy. My worst fear, besides CPR, is seeing anybody choke or the fear of choking as well, okay? In the event of choking, there are a couple of things that you will see on TV or you'll hear that you might have to do. One is that Heimlich maneuver, where you actually push on somebody's chest. We don't do that here at all. Unfortunately, you're too strong, you're going to hurt them. And if that person's really big, it just looks like an awkward hug. It doesn't help them either. So we don't do that maneuver. The other thing we can't do, you cannot hang your baby upside down whatsoever, okay? It might be upside down for a good thing, but not that way. For me, I know my baby's choking because their mouth hasn't closed, their eyes are wide open, their face is bright red, and they're quiet. When your baby's quiet, you know something might be wrong. So you sit there and you go, right, something might be stuck. One of the great things about your babies, they are the best vomiters in the whole wide world. They don't like your food, they tell you very quickly. And as we get older, we might not vomit, but if it goes down the wrong way, we also cough. Coughing and vomiting are the first things that anybody tries to do when food gets swallowed the wrong way. So please leave them alone, let them vomit, let me cough. But I know you love hitting somebody who coughs, but just let them go, cough as best they can. Coughing and you hitting them can actually make it a little bit worse. So it's just best to kick back and go, right, you're coughing, you're vomiting, that's all you have to worry about. If though your child or baby does not cough, they do not vomit, now I need you to intervene. So you rip them out of the high chair. I said before, this is not very good at all, but I do want you to get these people upside down because gravity is your friend. If your airways are upside down, then hopefully the food will fall out very, very quickly. A great way to hold your child might be in your arms like this and you can lift them down towards the floor. I have had a few parents lift them over their shoulders, be cautious of that one, but the more common way is actually sit on your chair, over your lap, head towards the floor as best as you can. As your children get older, throw them over your lap, head towards the ground. I would do that if my child was 18 or 22. If you can hold them, then you just do it, okay, no matter what. Your partner, over your lap as well. But over your lap, head towards the floor. The other thing I can never ever stop parents doing is the finger scoop. You put your whole hand in, you pull everything out in the event to try and remove the food they're choking on. The worst time that you can do that is when they're sitting upright because when your finger goes in, we choke our kids more than that poor child will because the food will get pushed down very, very easily. When they are upside down in this position, of course, if you can see the food now in their mouth, then it's okay to get your finger in there and just remove it as best you can. But if that food is not stuck, is still not there, it's quite stuck, the great way now is, it's a bit old school, you find the center of their back, heel of your hand, and it's a firm tap, okay, on their back. What's the purpose of hitting them? Yeah, I'll say firm thrust, not hits. But yeah, hopefully that's going to dislodge that object enough that they're upside down. It should fall across the floor. They'll go over, they'll pick it up and re-eat it because nobody wants to waste it. That's completely fine. But it's upside down and we do this. I don't sit here all day and do these. It's maybe 5, it's maybe 6 of them, nice and firm. Please be confident. You won't start off confident. We often go the whole, come on, Baba. Then you get more upset, and then it gets harder. And then by the end, you're probably nice and firm as best you can be. And if that fixes the problem, then your child is fine. They'll know for next time not to eat so much, and that's all you have to worry about. If though, those hitting on the back did not work at all, so the back slaps did not work, I would now recommend that you start calling the ambulance. They could be 10, 12 or 15 minutes away, but over the phone, they will recommend that you now put your baby back onto its back, on the kitchen table, on a hard surface, if need be, in your arms like this. And the last stage that we're going to try and do, find the center of their chest again, 2 fingers in the center. This is not CPR. Your baby is watching you, so often they're awake, they're alert, but by finding the middle and pushing as firmly as I can, what's the point of that? Yeah, hopefully the air that's stuck in here will get behind that food and pop it out as best as you possibly can. It's a safe spot. We push here anyway for CPR, and right now I'm just going to do maybe up to 5 of these, checking each time the food is dislodged. If it is, we scoop it out straight away. And again, they are still conscious after 5. I might then come back and then just do 5 more back slaps again. I'll do 5 more chest thrusts. I'll keep doing those, repeat, 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 until that food finally comes out or the ambulance turns up to assist me as best as I can. If all else fails and your child does stop breathing, then CPR kicks in and you're still doing the best thing you can until the help turns up at the same time. Now, what do babies choke on the most? What's your worst fear? Oh, everything. You will cut your grapes up into 18 pieces for the rest of their lives, okay, I guarantee it. Carrots and apples and lots of other hard objects. It could be marbles, it could be pen lids. The harder objects, hopefully they'll come out in one good hit across the room. There's no issue whatsoever. Some of the worst foods, cupcakes, muffins, chocolate cake, hot dog buns, because they go to a party, they smash a chocolate cake into their mouth. It's too much, it gets too soggy, and it's a lot to scoop out all at once. So those kind of foods, be very cautious, as well as your more solid objects, but don't forget those things at the same time. As your child or your baby gets older, this process doesn't get too different, except now you're working on somebody a little bit bigger. I would first ask my child to cough. If they can cough, let them keep coughing. They can't cough, I would sit down over my lap. Hopefully, I can feel the food to remove it, but if not, it's the center of their back and it's a hit. And your children should never sound like this, okay? But we sit here, 5 good firm hits whilst I'm sitting down. And if that doesn't work, then I'd be rolling them onto their back. And again, like my baby, center of the chest and a big firm thrust, non-stop repeating those 2 steps again until that food comes out or the ambulance walks through your front door. As best you can, you call the ambulance when you know nothing else is working and you want them to arrive, and that would be the best thing that you can do as well. When do you give your baby or child water to drink if they're choking? Only if they ask for it. I don't add anything else to the problem in the first place. We get out the food, we get out the objects, and obviously they're okay, then we're fine. If I said to you, oh, I'm choking, I need a glass of water, if I can ask for the glass of water, I'm probably okay as well. So please don't add anything to this problem. Get the problem out first, and then as best you can, you'll fix the problem after that as easy. Do you have any questions? You can practice choking my babies as well. You've got them over there. Again, mine, not yours, okay, if you'd like to. Guys around there. Now today, if you do have any extra questions, we are right here on the corner. The goodie bags that you've got are full of information about our courses as well, and we can hand out some more of those as well. Inside there's also a magnet. For me, first aid is more about phone a friend. So if you've got 4 phone numbers, you call them 24 hours a day. Their job is to teach you first aid when you completely forget everything I've just said to you tomorrow. And you've always got that backup as best as you possibly can as well. Okay? But thank you. And like I said, I'm over there if you have more questions. Yes, you can. Thank you, thank you. Would you like to choke my baby?
Thank you, Mary, for that very informative session. Our next session is brought to you by Nook Australia and is presented by a leading authority on children's